I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Special counsel Jack Smith continuing to aggressively pursue his criminal investigations of Donald Trump. We saw today Ken Cuccinelli, who served in the Trump administration. He's a MAGA extremist. He held the position of Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. He was the acting Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. And he also held the title as Acting Deputy Director of United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. Ultimately, he was deemed to have been appointed to both positions illegally by Donald Trump. In any event, he was seen in the federal courthouse today appearing before one of the criminal grand juries that special counsel Jack Smith is using for his criminal investigations into Donald Trump's election interference. And the name Ken Cuccinelli may sound familiar to you. It may not, but just to remind you, Rudy Giuliani, on behalf of Donald Trump, approached Ken Cuccinelli in his capacity as being the acting Deputy Director of Homeland Security and demanded that Cuccinelli seize voting machines after the 2020 election to try to discredit the results. Now, this idea of seizing voting machines came from Donald Trump's communications with Mike Flynn and Sidney Powell. And then the message was delivered by Rudy Giuliani to Ken Cuccinelli. The message was also delivered to Trump's Department of Defense at the time. According to Cuccinelli, what he told the January 6th committee and what he's believed to have told the grand jury here is that he dismissed the idea that the Homeland Security Department was empowered to seize voting machines. He said he lacked the authority to do it, not that he wouldn't do it if he had the authority, but he claimed he lacked the authority to do it. So undoubtedly, Ken Cuccinelli has been questioned by special counsel Jack Smith before the grand jury on the directive, on the order given by Donald Trump to seize voting machines. Another topic that Ken Cuccinelli is likely to have been asked by special counsel Jack Smith's team are the deleted text messages, his deleted text messages and emails, and the deleted text messages and emails of Chad Wolf, who was the acting Secretary of Homeland Security. The days leading up to the January 6th insurrection, those messages were deleted, and the attempts at trying to recover those messages were also thwarted. So why was that the case? Undoubtedly, special counsel Jack Smith is likely going to focus on that and whether that could potentially constitute the crime of obstruction. Here, just to remind you of what took place with regard to these deleted text messages from the phone and from the email messages that were deleted from Cuccinelli and Chad Wolf. Let me just play this news clip just so you can remember the context. Play the clip.
This is a wild story. So according to our paper, text messages from former President Trump's acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf and acting Deputy Secretary Ken Cuccinelli are missing for a key period leading up to the January 6th attack on the Capitol, according to four people briefed on the matter and internal emails. And on top of that, the Post is reporting that the Homeland Security watchdog halted plans to recover the deleted Secret Service text messages. I don't know if you have the answer to this, but why? But also, why are these missing text messages and this story such a big deal?
So it's a big deal because obviously one of the really big questions that the committee investigation of January 6th has raised is what were the president's interactions with the Secret Service? What was he telling them to do? What did he want them to help him make happen? Those are big questions, but they're hard to answer at times because the Secret Service says, well, we don't have some of this data that you're looking for anymore. And obviously that raises concern. It frankly does happen at government agencies that data like this gets lost, but it's usually lost in a way where you can ultimately find it someplace. What I think is so interesting about this particular issue at DHS and the Secret Service is that they're saying not only did we lose it, we might not be able to ever recover it. That's pretty unusual.
So Ken Cuccinelli, though, was known, like many of the people in Trump's orbit at that time, as being a radical extremist. He had some very xenophobic policies relating to immigration, and he gave a lot of very inflammatory interviews, implemented a lot of inflammatory and unlawful policies, and ultimately the Government Accountability Office, as well as a federal judge in Washington, D.C., ruled that the very appointment of Cuccinelli as an acting deputy secretary, both as an acting deputy secretary of Homeland Security, as well as the acting principal deputy director of the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services from 2019 to 2021, that was illegal, that he couldn't be an acting deputy in both capacities, and that it violated the Federal Vacancies Reform Act. That's also Chad Wolf, who was the acting secretary of Homeland Security, and his emails were also, and text messages were also destroyed and lost and not recovered. It should be noted that Chad Wolf was also adjudicated by a judge, the federal judge actually in New York, Gardefee, who ruled that Wolf was violated the Federal Appointments Act and the Vacancies Act, and was actually serving as the acting Homeland Security Secretary unlawfully and illegally. So again, here we see Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation continuing to heat up. Donald Trump has continued to heat up his criminal rhetoric directed at Jack Smith and Jack Smith's wife and Jack Smith's family, but Jack Smith is clearly undeterred here. His investigation remains incredibly focused. And Ken Cuccinelli coming in to the grand jury and answering questions along the lines demonstrates how Jack Smith is really narrowing down on where the criminal exposure of Donald Trump is. So we'll keep you posted, of course, because I don't think it's if, when Jack Smith criminally indicts Donald Trump. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. Also, check us out, please, at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. You will love the content we have there. There's exclusive content only on patreon.com/MeidasTouch, but most importantly, it helps grow this independent media platform. So please check it out. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas.
MeidasTouch is unapologetically pro-democracy. And look, we know you are too. So please make sure you check out our best-selling shirt and our best-selling gear, the unapologetically pro-democracy gear. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you check out my favorite shirt and one of our most famous designs, It Wasn't Rigged, You're Just a Loser, at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.